All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome for today's interview. We are interviewing Dr. Wong and Dr. Harrison here, representing Azusa Pacific University's Doctorate of Physical Therapy program. Thank you for coming in today, y'all.
Yeah, we're excited.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So today, basically, we're going to be talking all about APU, talking about what the culture is like, all the highlights of the program, and also some secret admission tips that are going to help you get into this specific program. So we're going to start off by talking a little bit more about the facts and the culture, and then we'll go ahead and move on to more of like the admission side of things like that.
Sure.
You guys can feel free to tag team or go one by one or whoever wants to take lead on it. But I'd just love to hear a little bit about APU. What are some highlights? Just give me the brief overview of the DPT program there.
Want me to start? Sure. So I guess big picture, the DPT program, we're very family oriented. We like to cultivate people to be not only good clinicians, but good people and care about taking care of others in the world. And then one thing unique about our university is we are a God-first university. We're Christian based, and so we are strong in our faith, and we implement some of that into our program and content.
And I would say all the faculty are Christians. Many of our students are not. So being a Christian is not a prerequisite to coming into the program. To piggyback on what Dr. Harrison was saying, we focus a lot on transforming eager young people who want to be in healthcare, taking care of others, but to turn them into great clinicians. I mean, it's more than just teaching you techniques. It's really teaching you how to think and how to apply your clinical reasoning. And we're building lots of cool things to try to facilitate that. And we'll share a little bit more about that later.
Yeah.
The culture, I've been there over 24 years. And the professors, the students, it's a special place to be. The professors really care about the students. When we meet in faculty meetings, we are talking regularly about who we need to keep an eye on, who can we help more, how are the classes going. And so I think there's a very deep love from the faculty to the students of trying to really get the job done, which is helping to transform the students.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite a highlight reel there. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that APU just takes care of every student individually. It sounds like you guys have meetings outside of just the teaching areas to talk about each student individually, about how you can help them grow, how to stretch them, how to challenge them, but also just taking into account of just taking good care of them and having a good time with them beyond just the educational aspect of things. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too at the program, it's so lovely because the faculty and the students interact so much. And I would say all the faculty have an open door policy. We schedule office hours and things like that for students that need to come in and schedule different time. But we also, if you're there and we're there and you need to come and chat, whether it's about class or something that's distracting you from your studies and you need help kind of refocusing and things like that, you always have someone there. And when you do enroll, you actually get assigned a mentor faculty member. And so you can go to that faculty member as your mentor, or if you really connect with another faculty member, there's open door policy. You can kind of come and go as you're able to kind of talk about life in general or things of the program, how you can help with your studies, etc.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that mentorship program is a little bit newer. Because when I was there, no one was like assigned to me. I had to go seek you out as like my mentor, and I could definitely speak on that. Open door policy. We had lunch all the time, talk about entrepreneurial type of stuff. We play basketball after ortho. So definitely a lot of collaboration happening just beyond the clinic.
Yeah, and beyond the classroom.
Beyond the classroom. Sorry. Yes.
And the other thing I would say too is, not every program feels like a premier program, but at APU, the physical therapy program is a premier, it's a star program, which means that we have been given the best resources to do our job. A brand new building, brand new rooms designed to our specification. It wasn't like, oh, we have some space, we'll throw you in there, good luck, teach your program. It's more like, PT is one of the best programs at the university. What can we resource this program with to continue to help it do its job better?
Yeah.
And so when you walk into the space, you immediately feel like, wow, this is modern, it's clean, it's organized in a way for our students to mingle and study together. There's gathering spots, there's the labs were designed so that every student had a good view. We put screens that come out of the ceiling, screens in the walls.
Cameras everywhere.
So I think there's this feeling that all barriers were removed to try to make the learning experience really ideal.
Wow, that's giving me goosebumps there. That's amazing. Yeah, and I was very fortunate enough to be the first cohort of students to experience the new DPT classroom. But I'm sure you guys have kind of figured out what works, what doesn't work, and fine-tuned a bunch of things. And so just students that are watching now, I mean, if you're applying to APU, this is the premier spot to go. I'd love to talk a little bit more about outside the classroom, more in the clinical experience. Like, what is that like? What does clinical rotations look like? How do students get involved with clinics? Do they get to choose? What type of setting? If you guys can give some insight on that.
Yeah, there's a little autonomy with it. We want to know what the students are interested in. Oftentimes students coming in, they don't know, like, oh, do I want to do ortho? Do I want to do neuro? Do I want to do pediatrics? And I think it's a healthy mindset to not be so narrow, to kind of keep your options open. Because oftentimes when you go out in a clinical rotation, you like, wow, I actually like this setting and I didn't know I would have liked it. So I'm glad I got that experience. So our CCEs try to give the students a variety of experiences so that way they can get exposure to neuro, some ortho, acute, and things like that. But if there's something that you really want to be engulfed in, like let's just say I really want to do orthopedic sports, that's really my passion, they will work with you and try to find something in that realm with all the rotations that you get in your program. And so they try to nurture that as well, but still try to help the students get all the well-rounded experience, because there might be something that you're not exposed to yet that you actually really love.
Yeah.
And then you actually get to apply all the skills that you learned in the coursework.
Yeah. I definitely could agree to that. Like, I was like, I'm not working in inpatient or the hospital setting, acute care, but I got thrown in there. I was stretched a lot. The first 6 weeks were hard. At the end, I'm like, I can actually see myself working here.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very similar. Totally attest to that. But just to clarify, so students can't necessarily choose, but they can put in a request as far as a specific setting or a specific location. Like, I really want to work at Exos or something like that. Can you guys guarantee that, or is it just like a request basis?
There's not a guarantee. You can put in requests and things that you like, because we have to sign contracts with the clinical, and we have to make sure that there's a CI that's certified there. There's lots of background things that has to happen in order for that rotation to happen. So it's not a guarantee, but you can certainly put in your request. We've even had students go out of state. Sometimes they'll even go, somewhere they're just exploring, somewhere new, good rotation, like Mayo Clinic or things like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're from Oregon and they want to go back and treat in their hometown. And so we try to make that happen. And so those things can happen, but it's not guaranteed just because of the litigation, legality stuff behind it all. They have to get it all cleared through first. So It's not always just guaranteed, but we try our best to give you a good outcome.
Gotcha. Very nice. What would you say, I know that you guys are professors, but student life, students who are watching this video are wondering, like, what's life like as a student? You talked about in the clinic, the professor's perspective, but maybe in the PT's perspective or the student's perspective, how would you describe what a student experience would be like at APU?
I think when the students first come, there's a lot of bubbling excitement. But soon, they are deep in gross anatomy. They're deep in the early courses. And they realize, hey, this is serious business. This is where I'm going to cut my teeth, right? I'm going to learn the skills of a physical therapist. So I think what you begin to realize is the students really begin to hunker down together. Another unique aspect of graduate school is that you join a cohort and you'll follow that cohort together, class by class. So you're going to develop some deep relationships and you're going to work together, band together, to learn together, to succeed together. And I think you begin to see this deliberate energy that is happening as the students are beginning to churn, right? Because every 2 or 3 weeks, someone's giving an exam. One of the two of us are probably giving an exam. So the knowledge base that you're acquiring, you're going to have to pull it out and apply it. And so I think there's a certain level of pressure that's going to happen. And I always tell the students, it's the pressure that transforms. It's what turns the coal into the diamonds.
Right.
You have to be exposed and stretched. And so the other side of the culture, I think, is there's laughter. There is deep friendships being built. I know many of you have stayed friends,
Best men at weddings.
Best men at weddings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a unique opportunity to build your friend group with a really bright bunch of people-loving humans. And so I think in my labs, we are regularly working on each other, learning manipulations and mobilizations and exercises. The students are practicing on each other and doing evaluations on each other. And there begins to grow also a little bit of a respect. You're watching and learning from each other grow. And so I do think it's a very unique, it's not meant to be cutthroat. It's meant to push all of the students to excel and to learn from one another. So I think it's a healthy place to be from a grad school perspective. Generally, PTs are people. So you're surrounded by great people. Right. So I think it's a pleasant place to be, as hard as it guaranteed will be. It's meant to be hard.
What about like competition? Is there a competition, or like students kind of like slandering each other a little bit to get to the top? Like is there a competition at APU?
I don't know if we certainly don't promote it, and I'm not sure if any program promotes it. My grade sheet is shuffled. No one knows who's who. And everybody is just trying to do the best that they can. It's not easy to get A's. And you don't have to get A's. You just have to know that you are learning what you need to learn to become a great clinician. You do your best, and your faculty members are cheering you on from the side. So I think inherently that level of competitiveness is built into the person, and that person seeks out the validation of where they are within the class. But I think when I was in PT school, I always gave it my all. I wanted to be the best. And whatever grade I got was all that mattered. So
if a student wants to be successful in a program like this, what kind of characteristics, disciplines, values do you think they should try to learn, embody, or try to get to so that they can be successful in a program like APU?
That's a great question. I mean, there's so many things you can look at depending how you want to answer it. But I think one of the big things is, being able to time manage, right? It's a big commitment, right? This is like your job, right? And you're trying to grow into a clinician and take care and be responsible of other people, right? And so we know that you have life on the side and things don't slow down on the life side, but you still have this commitment for 2.5 to 3 years that you're trying to become this clinician. And so trying to find that life balance can be challenging at times, sometimes easier than others. Time management is huge. I think having some grace for yourself, there are a lot of perfectionists in there that want to get the A+, the A+, the A+.
Right.
But kind of like what you were saying is it's not always about the A+, but are you understanding the material? Can you apply the material? Are you competent in the material? And if that looks like an A-, that's okay. Right? You don't have to worry about the plus, right? And so I think kind of being able to navigate some of the challenges, and it is hard, right? If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it.
Right.
And so, there's going to be peaks and valleys through your studies, and there's going to be times like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I can do this, and then, hopefully you'll have your cohort cheering you on or talking to that faculty member to help you get through the rougher times, right? Because sometimes even just in regular school, right? Some of us like English, some of us like math, right? Maybe some of us gravitate towards anatomy. They do really well, but they have a harder time applying the clinical side of it, right? And connecting all of it together. And so I think leaning on each other and asking for help and things like that, and where you need it, you can, continue through. But the hard is not where you need to kind of let go. That's kind of where you're starting to learn and stretch, and then when you push through and then you get on the other side of it, you're so excited.
So nice. Yeah.
And I would add in a couple of things that I think are really important within the classroom and also as you're heading out into the clinical world. One is there should always be a sense of humility. There will always be better and smarter, but you are on a journey to become the best you can be to help people, because someone's mom or dad or brother or sister is going to be waiting in hopes that you're the expert who can help them. So I think a student, we can tell when students are receptive, they're humble, they're here to learn. They'll do whatever it takes to learn. They're the last ones out of the classroom. I mean, you don't have to be the last one out of the classroom, but we also notice the ones who just come late and leave early, right? So there's this level of professionalism that says, I'm here to learn to be the best, and I'm respectful of the people who are there to teach me, and I'm ready to do what it takes. To me, that means a lot as a professor who wants to pour a lot of knowledge and development into the student. When we see that, we love it. It energizes us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love to hear that on your end. I know a lot of students are striving to be the best version of themselves and self-develop. So this is really good insight. I'd love to transition this a little bit towards the admission side, because I think you also want to see students who are coming in to exemplify these same characteristics: growth mindset, time management, be able to have fun and not be perfectionists. So maybe in a quick overview, like what types of student applicants are you looking for? And how do you look for those things besides just the GPA? Or is that something you look at?
Yeah, so we're both on the admissions committee, and so there's certain things we have to look at, like GPA, science GPA. We look at those things. There's certain requirements for students who are applying that we look at. And then we're one of the few schools that still does interviews, and we're very passionate about doing the interview process, and we're keeping it in person because we really want to get to know the applicant and who they are. So when they're sending us their essay or we're sitting in front of them having a conversation, we really want to get to know, hey, is this person going to be a great addition to our family, right? Is this someone that wants to be in this culture? Is this someone that's going to want to thrive? Is this someone I see as being a caring clinician and part of our community? And so we really want to get to know them, not just the grades. Obviously, we need to be able to see that a student can perform at a certain academic level, but then also be able to interact and have a conversation, speak clearly, and maybe finish their thought, right? And get to know them a little bit and how and why they come to APU and why they want to be a therapist.
Yeah. So the interpersonal skills are important. Communication skills, how you carry yourself, maybe a little bit of professionalism as well.
Absolutely.
And you're looking at all of that in the interview. Like that's a pretty big, important part of the application process. Besides the interview, how do you weed that out? Maybe an essay, extracurriculars, maybe letters of recommendation. Like how does that work?
Yeah, I would just say that when we do look at the file, so to speak, when it comes to us,
File as in like a student,
the applicant,
applicants.
what have they done in their life? What kind of activities were they involved in? Does it tell a story about the person's intentionality with their life? Because yes, the essay, I would love to hear what has led you to become who you are, and what vision do you have for what you want to contribute to this world? I mean, these are actually existential questions for each of us.
Yeah.
How do I want to contribute to this world? We want to hear those stories. We want to hear it from your mouth during the interviews. We'd like to read about it when you write it. We would like to see you write it versus artificial intelligence writing it. We would love to get a picture of who you are, because in the end, it is you as the soft interface in the medical system between the insurance and the medical system, the human who needs help. The therapist is in the middle. It's the soft interface that's really critical. And so I think people who, when you are applying, it's good, even in your early process, because I know some of your viewers are early in their college career or earlier. We do care about the things that you spend your time on. How did you show that you were caring for others? How did you show leadership in whatever activities, clubs, or groups that you were in? Those things matter. And of course, the grades, the reason why the grades are so important is because you're coming into an environment where you're getting 3 science courses every semester. We are not asking you to just memorize things. We're asking you to make decisions about people who are injured.
Mm-hmm.
And so the horsepower, the cognitive horsepower is important because you're going to have to make decisions at that level.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the GPA inevitably, in the 3.0 and above level, I mean, 3.0 is the minimum, but really you to make yourself more competitive, it is useful to, if you have courses, especially core science courses that you didn't do well on, there's no rush. Go and take some of those courses again. Build those grades up.
Retake them.
Retake them. I always think of those courses as opportunities for me to learn, for me to grow. And so that's okay if you didn't do it well in the first time. But know that in order to be competitive, this is still a highly competitive graduate school environment.
Right.
And so the better your grades are, of course, and that's typical for all grad school, it will help you. Making sure that you tell your story in your essay and tell your story of who you are and how you've come to get there. Explaining why your grades were not good in certain phases of college. Those are useful for us to hear.
Yeah.
They're part of the story. And we appreciate that. We appreciate the student athlete,
Yeah.
the person who worked their way all through college. That's why we do the interviews.
Right. I'd love to talk about the essays a bit. So, like, what would stand out? What can a student highlight, or any part of the written part of the PT cast? You know, there's several different sections where they can justify themselves. What are you guys looking for in those areas? You talked a little bit about that, but
Yeah, I think as you touched upon, I think for them to be authentic, right? And you really have to come from somewhere personal, because you can feel that in the writing as much as you can in the interview.
Right.
I think it's more natural kind of talking with someone, but sometimes people get nervous in an interview, right? So sometimes it's easier for them to write about their experiences and why they want to be a PT. And so I think we're looking for that authenticity, and then for them to be able to kind of show us who they are. Some students will write, I've cried actually reading some of the essays because they're so deep and so thoughtful, and some of them have really been through some hardships.
yeah.
And so some of them are very moving, and then some of them are actually really light and airy and fun to read, and it's motivating. And so I think if you can kind of capture the essence of who you are and why you want to be a PT, and what is it about APU that drives you to come to our school, I think that's what kind of captures us when we're reading those essays.
Gotcha.
We're trying to make a choice to help make sure that you're the right person to be here. Because it's not an easy profession. Nothing in medicine is easy today.
Yeah.
So the right drivers ensure that you will have a long and happy career because you are in the right place. So I think some of those experiences, and from people who read essays after essays, right? We see all these applications. I think we get up to 1,000 applications for these 70 spots or more. We don't read all of them because as they go through the grad center is beginning to figure out who's met the minimum requirements and who hasn't. Right?
Kind of filters it
out, right? But the ones that are auto-written, they begin to sound the same.
Yeah.
Could you explain auto-written?
Auto-written, meaning if you just tell AI to write something for you, eventually when we're reading thousands, hundreds of these, eventually you're like, oh, wow, that all begins to sound the same. I think a person should be proud of where they've come from and who they are.
Yeah.
And look at the essay as an opportunity to tell that story.
Yeah.
And even as people have varying levels of writing talent, I think the deep and personal nature of many of these essays that share experiences that you've had, experiences personally of going through these types of rehab experiences, or being a part of someone's rehab experience, those are common in shaping a person to say, hey, I think that might be for me.
Yeah.
And so I think those are some key things that we look for in these essays.
Sounds like authenticity, vulnerability, and just being like yourself, and not really like being a good human is basically who you guys are looking for.
Right.
You know. Extracurriculars, I want to touch on this. Are there some extracurriculars? You said leadership, service, but are there some that stick out more than others? I mean, you can totally get involved in a shipping company and might not even be related to PT, or, cleaning toilets, janitorial jobs, or maybe customer service or in retail, or managerial positions. Like, are there ones that you're looking for, ones that are more important, and also length of time, like commitment to that?
Sure. And I think any of those would be experience, right? But how you see that experience and how that will help you as a clinician, right? So, if you're a janitor, how can that experience help you be a clinician, right? Maybe you're providing service for others, or maybe it's the time management that you learn during that process. If you can have a vision of how that job helped you prepare to be a clinician or a grad student, I think all of those would be applicable. And, kind of looking at experience as far as volunteer hours. So there are required hours for you to volunteer. We want to make sure that you kind of got out and got your feet wet a little bit, and you kind of know what career you're jumping into, right? We want you to be passionate about it and you're sure this is what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We currently don't have a requirement of the setting that you're utilizing.
Like ortho,
acute,
neuro.
Ortho, acute, outpatient. However, I think that it's beneficial if you're able to dabble in a little bit of different areas. It gives you a better picture and broad picture of what PT can really do,
right?
Versus just one setting. Can you do one setting? Yes, that's fine. You've met the requirement. But I think you get a better overall picture of what physical therapists will be doing and you'll be doing as a licensed therapist.
Yeah.
So I think I see value in kind of broadening your spectrum.
And I would say that I love people who have come from different majors, business majors, psychology majors,
unrelated.
You didn't have to go through kinesiology or bio or chem. Those are all great. I have no particular feelings besides when they come from different places. I'm like, oh, how cool is that? This person is a musician, and they've chosen this path. So I think each job, each sport, each activity, they all shape people in different ways, and that's the beauty of this job. Yeah. It can accommodate and needs people from all backgrounds. I do think that we have many students who were athletes. I think that's something that we commonly see, and oftentimes it shows the ability to balance. I'm currently working with all the APU sports athletes. It was incredible. They're training 3 hours a day, right? And competing on weekends and getting the work done in between. So we've heard of the people who worked at retail stores to pay the bills, or were tutoring people to try to make enough money to pay for their books. I mean, all of those in different ways, I think, should be shared. They're part of who you've become. And so we do value those things. I do think for the generation of students that's coming, that time spent in reality, in getting your hands dirty, whether that is developing skill in sport, developing music, developing work ethic because you had to show up at 6 a.m. to stock the shelves.
Interpersonal skills. Those are the real things that will set you apart in life.
Nice.
And that students should pursue that relentlessly when you live in a world of digital distractions.
Wow.
It's so easy to lay there scrolling all of your skill away. When in fact, every little piece of the journey will develop you, will develop your resilience, your skill sets, your ability to have passion in life is actually built out of the skills. And so this is really just me on my soapbox, and I regularly share this with my own students. And that is, in a digital world, real is real. Pursue what is real. We look for that.
And as PTs, like, we're face to face. Like, I mean, there's some telehealth involved in the PT world, but I mean, there's nothing that can replace the physical aspect of physical therapy. So, I mean, we can go as digital as we want, but you're never going to run away from just being hands-on. I want to rewind just a little bit on the extracurriculars. How do students, like, portray all that stuff on the application? Like, there's like a section where you talk about experiences, and there's a little like blurb, maybe like 500 characters that you can write about like your job duties, but do you also talk about the story behind it? Like, I'm doing this at 6 a.m. Consistently while going to school. Like, how can a student show all these things that you're saying in the application specifically?
Yeah, I think there's portions in there you can add on different employment or different volunteer and things like that. And there's the word limit. And so I would kind of, maybe on the side, write down all of your thoughts. You can verbally express everything you want. And then how do you sum that all up to kind of get that in that word count? Kind of summarize your thoughts, that overall experience, and how that would tailor towards you becoming a clinician.
Gotcha. Right. Tailoring towards the clinician.
There's a balance between listing 30 things and then using up the word count there.
Right.
Or choosing the key things and being able to expound on a few of the key things to make that little narrative a little bit more personal. It allows us to, it sinks in deeper instead of saying worked at Gap 2007 to 2014,
Right.
So I think you have to figure out that balance, but there is still a story. We are looking at those and going, oh, this person's worked a lot during those years.
Yeah.
Or this person actually worked as a front desk seller and eventually became assistant manager. Hey, I want to know about that. That's useful.
So it's not necessarily listing your job duties, which it can be, but maybe if you want to strategize your application to list the duties and relate it to how you would be a good clinician, leader, or student. Awesome. That's really helpful. I know a lot of students have a bunch of questions on that experience section. It's like, is this like a resume? I just write like my job duties, but to strategize it in a way where you relate it that way is really, it's going to help a lot of students in that way. Great. A couple more questions. When a student has about 1 to 3 years before they're about to apply, what is that's like a whole student college career. What do they get involved with? What can they do now so that in 3 years they're set up for success to be this exemplary, high-class profile student?
That's a loaded question. One of the things, they're going to reach out to you because now you have your mentor program to help those students, which I think is fantastic because I didn't have that when I was an undergrad, and I was like, oh, I want to be a PT, and now what do I do, right? And so you just kind of go through the process of finding out all the things with administration and maybe you're a student counselor and things like that.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things is a mindset from going from undergrad to grad school.
Mindset.
In the sense of understanding your knowledge and taking that knowledge with you. So a lot of times students now are in undergrad, you've got a math course, you've got an English course, you've got some of your general prerequisites, and you take that class, you memorize the information, you pass your test, you move on, right? Well, when you get to grad school and you're in PT school, all of your classes apply, right? So you're going to have anatomy, you're going to have ortho, you're going to have clinical classes, and each class is going to carry over. It's not that you can just take this class and forget it, because that class is going to be a building block for you to become a clinician.
Right.
And so trying to learn for long-term versus short-term is a different type of studying.
Okay.
And so that's one of the key things that I see, and one of the things the students mostly struggle with in the beginning, because it's a different type of learning.
Mindset, yeah. So maybe learning to apply the knowledge as well, rather than just memorize.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think about, which is a great privilege here in this country, is those years in college are actually the years where you can learn anything in the world. So though there are prerequisites that you need to get into PT school, I think I always advise students, hey, go take all kinds of psychology things.
Yeah.
Take all kinds of other things that help you to see the world in a different lens. Cover what you need to get into the program, and then take advantage of this time. I would even encourage, don't even rush to get into grad school, because once you hit grad school, you've got a 3-year top clock that's ticking. From there on, there's no escape from your loans, and you're into the workforce. That's it.
Right.
And so this early window when you are learning and discovering and developing yourself as a human, relish in it. Go learn all kinds of stuff. Understand how humans think, psychology. Learn anything you've ever wanted to learn. Make a list. Be deliberate. Take advantage of those 1 to 3 years before PT school. you'll never regret having learned more. And as you know, and all of us, being in PT is a lifelong learning experience.
Right.
There's so much to continue to learn.
Right.
And there's so many new things that are being researched that are coming out. So I think it ties nicely to that. Who should I be in these 3 years in preparation? Become a learner who pursues learning humbly, and you will end up in good places.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Particularly
Love that.
APU.
Yeah. Love that. Lifelong learner as a student, but also clinician, and just continuing on that journey. A lot of students want to get into school and start the process very quickly, but you're actually encouraging them to pump the brakes a little bit and slow down.
There's no harm in slowing down.
No harm in slowing down. What would you recommend that they do? You said learn a little bit, but anything else?
If you have never gotten a job before, get a job. You will learn some amazing things about life. So I think
and stay with the job.
Stay with the job, put in a year or two. There's some really powerful human development things that are happening there, including understanding what it's like to make that type of money. What one day it will color and help you view what it's like to make the kind of money that physical therapists make, and the work that you put in. Everybody's working.
Right.
So I think there's that's part of it. Remind me what the question again?
Yeah, just like if a student has, delays, let's say a year, like what else should they do?
Oh, some students are like, hey, Dr. Wong, my GPA is not that good. I'm like, oh man, then what else would you like to learn? Oh, go get a master's in counseling. Go get a master's in psychology. That stuff will make you shine in physical therapy. So some students have gone back to go pick up a master's, go to learn something else. Some of them go get an MBA,
right,
and be a game changer in the healthcare field. Right. There's really no rush. Every stage is an opportunity to learn and equip yourself and give yourself more opportunity. Yeah. That's what I mean by, for some, it feels like the fastest I can get into the workforce, the better I'll be. And I would say the more shaped you are as a human from your experiences, from work to sport to whatever it may be, the better physical therapist you'll be, and likely the more successful you'll be in the career.
Yeah. Love that. I have one final question for you guys. And you touched on it a little bit, but in this world of AI, obviously it's going to be around. ChatGPT is growing. We're utilizing it kind of like Google as a resource and as a tool, but there can be some challenges in the admission side of things. Students can use it to write the experience section, the essays, even prep them for their interview. What are you guys doing to combat that, to address that, or to maybe even embrace it and now and in the future?
Well, I think as you mentioned before, we can kind of start seeing, multiple things coming through, things start to sound the same, and that's kind of a red flag in our mind. There is software through the Canvas, which is the platform that we use, that we can kind of do screening for AI and things like that. So there are ways to kind of screen and look for that. Yeah. And again, we're looking for that authenticity. And so if we're starting to see like, this doesn't sound like it quite matches, or it seems too cookie cutter or pre-scripted, we might start that screening process for some of the essays.
Gotcha. And, to piggyback on the idea of technology, because that technology will change the world. It's the next exponential innovation opportunity. There will be certain things that AI will be able to do amazingly. And there's certain things that it cannot replace, which is the soft interface between human and human. So I think in the application process, we are looking for a human. And we are looking to see your story and find out who you are. On the flip side of the innovation, I would say that at APU, we have been building apps and simulations and games that we know fill a hole in education. Right. We know that this new generation that's coming in has grown up in a world of videos, has grown up in a world of seeking things online. So what we've done is many of the professors have been involved in building apps and simulations that develop your clinical reasoning to fill those gaps and meet the learner where they desire to learn.
Right.
And so that's another key point that I think makes APU quite special is the faculty have been very flexible in their thinking as they modify the way we teach. We understand how learners want to learn today, and we have been relentlessly building apps and e-learning and games to help our students become the best that they can be.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, beyond having the premier program and the premier facilities, we're also creating content that we are deeply embedding within our curriculum. It's not just an app floating around in the app store. It's actually built around how the teaching is happening.
Right.
And with the understanding of how students learn. So there's a lot of really cool stuff happening at APU, and it's why I've stayed here my whole career, is because when a faculty member feels respected, has a platform in which to do their magic with students, and is encouraged to be innovative and flexible, and resourced to do that, it's a happy place for faculty to be too.
Yeah.
So it's special.
I 100% agree with you on that. I was on more of the starting end of where PhysioU or these apps were integrated at APU. But AI is growing, and I can only imagine the technology that's growing with PhysioU and these apps and technology. And it's been a game changer for me. Like, I'm not reading books and just looking at still pictures. I'm looking at video and integration and games and simulations that enhance my learning, where I can learn way faster on one end, think deeper as a clinician, and then also free up my time so I can do stuff that I love to do.
Absolutely.
So I love that that APU is a program that embraces change. I think oftentimes in the PT world, there are a lot of seasoned clinicians that don't want change, the new research, and they're kind of, I'll stick with my TENS unit or something like that, right? But it's great that staff, faculty is there to grow and learn. And just like how you said, you're looking for students that are like that, but you all are also like that too. So that's amazing. Before we finish up here, is there any last words that you would like to say to the pre-PT students out there who are looking at APU, considering it, maybe are on the fence, anything like that? I'd love for you, if you want to talk a little bit about finances, because it is a private institution, just to put the elephant in the room. Anything like that.
Yeah, well, as far as finances, I would say 100% of our students have financial aid, and so that is available for students. You know, college isn't cheap, right? It's not cheap anywhere you go.
Right.
But we are not the most expensive on the west side. So for that, I would like to take credit for that. Well, I can't personally, but the program is not the most expensive on the west coast.
Right.
But there are financial aid options, and they can meet with an advisor to help them through that process. And I would just say, if you're looking to apply, take a look at the prerequisites, see where you're at, see if this, is this a fit for you, right? We want you to be a fit into our program, but we also want to be a fit for you. And so if you don't see that we're a fit for you, that's okay. There are other schools out there, right? But we want to make sure that we can bring you in and you're part of our family, and that you're in it for the long haul. And it's not just the 3 years that you're with us. I mean, you're going to grow into a family, right? You're going to have 3 cohorts. So you're part of one of them. You have the faculty, and then oftentimes students stick around, right? Because of the environment, they love to be around each other. So you're really cultivating good people, good clinicians. And if you're not sure about PT in general, go out there and experience the world. Go experience psychology, go experience social work, or some other medical healthcare position. If you're not sure where you want to be at, that's okay. That's normal, right? So go and explore things.
Yeah, that's good.
Volunteer places. It'll give you a bunch of experience. And then when you're ready, and you'll know, right? And then apply. And apply with confidence and be proud of who you are and where you come from, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
Because we're probably looking for you. We're just waiting for your application.
Oh, that's nice. And also the experience, they can use that in their application. Like, I've done social work, and this is what I've learned and gained, and these skills that I can apply as a clinician.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, preview days that we run throughout the year are great opportunities to come meet our students, hear a little bit of what our program's like. I think that's one excellent opportunity. And I think one of the things that we are very well respected for in Southern California, many of the clinics know and have remarked that our students come ready. They're good people who have been well trained. My goal is, of course, to help you pass your boards, but more importantly, to help you become a change maker, someone who can contribute to humanity, to take care of people in a time of their great need. So we are so committed to transforming you, not to just teach you basic skills. You could learn that in any program. What you will come here to learn from is fellowship trained clinical specialist. This year I won a teaching award for orthopedics. It's a national teaching award. It was one of the proudest moments in my career to be able to be recognized for that. Thank you. Yeah. Passion drives that. We're committed to you, to transforming you, to help you become experts, to help you ride the rocket ship to becoming an expert so you can rock when you come into the profession.
Nice.
There's no better way than to be the best. And that's what we're committed to help you become. So,
Wow, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, you're
Wong,
welcome.
Dr. Harrison. Really appreciate your time. And for all you students who are watching this, Azusa Pacific University, when you are ready to apply, put this on your list because y'all are going to be game changers. Let's freaking go. Thank you, guys.
Nice.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
awesome.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This was